Hi, this is Edward Troxel, and this morning I'd like to say Merry Christmas from JETDV Scripts, and here is a free new extension that you can use. This is called the Transitions AB extension, and you can download it from the link in the description below, and there's other information in the description below. But this tutorial is going to show how to modify the script so that it can do what you want it to do instead of the settings that I have there by default. So this is fully customizable, so you can go in and add your own settings to use. What this extension does is it will use effects to actually create transitions between two clips. Basically, you have a cut between two events on the timeline, and the A button will add effects that will transition out from the first event, and the B button would then transition in on the second event. So I'll show you roughly how this works and then show you how to add a new entry to the file. After installing the extension, you just go to View, Extensions, and you'll have Transitions AB Free listed. When you open that up, the new extension will just be opened. You will have a drop-down list of items you can choose, and then you will have an A and a B button. Let me add a couple of events to the track here. Okay, so here I've added two events to the timeline. It's just the same event, just to show what this does. I'm going to click on the first event, and then in the transitions, let's just choose this Gaussian blur here. We'll click on A, and then on the second event, we'll select the second event. Let's do Gaussian blur plus glow, and we'll click on B. So now if we come in here to this first event and we look at it, we will see the effects that have been added. And in this case, we have the Gaussian blur has been added, and then we will see that several keyframes have also been added to change the blur over time.
Please sign up at www.jettv.com.
So we can see the blur is actually changing over time.
Further notifications.
And then we will look at this one and see that both Gaussian blur and glow have been added, and we can see the keyframes that have been added there as well. And notice both of these go to 0, and then it will come in. So if we look at our,
please sign up at www.jettv.com.
and so it will blur and glow in. What we want to do is be able to define new entries in this list here, and also be able to add new effects that can be used by these entries. So let's look at our video effects here. So let's just look at zoom blur. So here we can change the amount of zoom. We can change the blend. That goes from 0 to 100. Zoom goes from 0 to 100. And position goes from 0 to 100. So we can look at those parameters to see if we want to change them. And then we can also add multiple keyframes for each one of these. And so let's see how that would be done to add a zoom blur. First of all, I'm going to clear this off, and our Transitions AB is closed. So let's look at to see how we would change the file. Once installed, you will have two files here, transitionsab.dll and transitionsab.config. We want to edit the config file. So all I did was right-click this, I chose Open With, and I chose Notepad as my option. Technically, any text editor will work. I happen to just use Notepad for this example. Inside this file, you'll see several max values up at the top. The number of effects is a very important one. Right now I have 2 effects defined. We are getting ready to add a third one, so I am going to change this number to 3. The maximum keyframes is the maximum number of keyframes allowed for one specific parameter on that effect. Right now I have this set to 10. If you think you're going to need more than 10, you can increase that value, but 10 should probably be enough. The max entries in list, that is the number of items in the drop-down box. So I'm going to up this to 4 because we are going to add a new entry. The max effects per list entry, that's how many effects can I add to one specific item in the drop-down list. So for example, when I opened the drop-down list a while ago, the first one had only a single one, the second one had 2 entries, the third one had a single entry. So right now I have this defined as a maximum of 10 effects can be added from one entry in the drop-down box. Finally, I have the maximum parameters to change. This is the number of parameters on any one effect that can be changed. Right now I have this set to 5. If you need to change more than 5 parameters on any one effect, just increase this number here. The effects are defined by adding a new entry in the effects section. So effect number 0 is our Gaussian blur. Effect number 1 is our glow. And here we're going to add a new effect. So I'm just going to start by copying effect number 1. And then we will come down here and paste this. And we're going to name this number 2. And this one is going to be zoom. Next I have to get the GUI ID zoom blur. If you look in the description below, you'll see a link to a video that talks about where I created the GUI IDs into the file that I'm getting ready to open. And then in my effects GUI ID file, this is the one I created with Vegas Pro 19. I'm going to search for zoom blur. And we will see that we have the GUI ID right here. This one happens to be a new blue plugin, so it says com.newblue. Others will say things like Vegas Creative Software. So it all depends on which plugin you're using. I'm just using the zoom blur. So we will come back over here and paste our GUI ID into place. As far as the preset is concerned, in this particular case, I don't want a specific preset, so I'm just going to leave that blank. Next, we're going to go in and change our various parameters. I'm going to go ahead and delete all the old parameters there. Remember, the A button is the fade out. So in this particular case, I'm going to do the zoom parameter. And then our location can be multiple things. You see down here we have the word start. We can also have the word end. Start, of course, is at the beginning of the event. End is at the end of the event. Center is the middle of the event. Then if we do minus and some number, that will be that many frames backward from the end of the event. If we do plus and some frames, that will be that far forward from the beginning of the event. So let's add a keyframe. Let's just go minus 240, and we'll give it a value of 0 to start with. That will be fine. And then for the zoom, let's add another entry. It's a minus 180, and let's make that 30. And then let's add one more entry, and we'll put this at the end, and let's make this value 100. Now if we were doing a fade in, let's set these at a value of start at a value of 100, and let's just go plus 30 frames, that's 1 second, and change it to a value of 0. So it'll quickly fade in, slowly fade out. We can add multiple parameters, so let's go ahead and just copy this right here, this entire parameter section, and we'll paste this, and on this one let's change the parameter blend. At minus 240, I'm going to leave that at 0. At the end, I'm going to leave it at 100, and we'll just get rid of the middle one here. Same thing at the start, I'll just leave the values that are there at the moment. So now we've got a new effect added, and we have 2 parameters that we are changing. So now let's add it to our selection list. So let's come down here and we'll create a new selection entry. So I'm just going to copy this selection entry. And this is what's going to show up in the drop-down box. So here I'm just going to type in zoom blur. The effects to use will be effect number 2. Remember, these are 0 base, so the first effect is number 0. This is the third effect I'm adding, so it's number 2. So once I get all these changes made to this file, all I have to do is save the file. Then we go back into Vegas, open this again, View, Extensions, and now we have the 4th item listed. So I can choose this. Let's select this event. We choose A. So we can see here that the effect has been added. However, we don't have any keyframes. So let's see if we can figure out why we don't have any keyframes. I have a neat little trick here where if you hold down the Shift key and click anywhere in the background area of the plugin, you will get this new Show Parameter Names checkbox. So if I check that box and I try to add it again, it's going to show me the effect name, the parameter label, and the type. So in this particular case, the parameter label is zoom, but the parameter name is 0. So instead of changing zoom, we're going to have to change 0. If we go forward, the position is named 1. Blend is named 2. And then only double parameters can be changed. The next parameter is center, which is a double 2D. It says we cannot use this parameter, but its name is 3. Go on forward. Blend is of type choice. We cannot use this parameter. Its name is 4. And that is the rest of them. So now let's go ahead and uncheck this, and we will close the plugin, and let's go in and make a couple of edits to the config file. So we open the config file again, and we scroll down to where the zoom blur is defined. So now we have the parameter that we had named zoom. We have now learned that it is actually named 0. So we're going to change that to a 0. Then we come down here to blend, and instead of being named blend, we have now learned that it is named 2. So let's just put a 2 right there. Let's close this file, save it, come back in here, get rid of the effects that were added. Now we can open the extension again. We'll choose zoom blur, pick A, and now we will open it up, and we will see we have keyframed effects. And then if we select the other one and press B, we will see that we have it coming out. So it would go like
sign up at
this coming out.
Sign up at
And it would go like this coming out.
JETDV.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications
And just
on when new videos are
slowly get
presented.
out
Please sign
and then
up
come
at
back in. So I hope you find this little Christmas present useful. Please let me know how you use the Transitions AB plugin, and hope you enjoy it. Please sign up at www.jettv.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.